Mike Vrabel will be officially interviewing today. Jet fans have to be excited about that.
Well, you're excited if you think that, the Jets are going to get this one right. I think we're hopeful. Excited is probably not the word that I would use because they've shown the evidence that they know what they're doing. Listen, here's what worries me. You know that I want Vrabel. I've wanted him for a while. I look at it this way. So the Jets, to get him to take the job, I think there's 4 things they've got to do. They've got to give him the money, which I think they will. They've got to grant him the power, which I'm not so sure about. He's got to view the job as prestigious, which there's no way that he's going to. And he's got to look at any job that he's going to take as a situation where he thinks he can win right away, or at least, they're built to win soon. And that's subjective, although I do think that he would like elements of the roster. What worries me here is what Kraft's going to do with Mayo. If Kraft fires Mayo after 1, then I think Rabel becomes the head coach of the Patriots. And I really fear, Sal, that Vrabel's showing up today to kind of maybe incentivize Kraft to get rid of Mayo. Do you really think that Mike Vrabel wants to? I know we want him.
And this is the first interview that he's going on,
yeah,
right?
It is.
This go around here. Yeah, I don't think Vrabel wants the Jets. And I also don't think, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I did some thinking after the show, a little bit deeper thought, because the number one thing we talked about was, for me, what I want from the Jets is a no doubt about it program changer and builder, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm going over some of the names. I'm like, all right, well, would I be opposed to Vrabel? No, I think it would be a good hire. I'm not as all in as you are on him or some other Jet fans, but I think it would be a good hire. I'm not going to kick and scream and say it's a terrible hire. Flores is appealing. Kingsbury's appealing. Gruden, okay, the old part of me really likes him a little bit more, but I'm still unsure. There is one name that we brought up that's been bandied about that definitely would be interested that I did think further about yesterday, and I think that's the most sure thing that the Jets could do.
Go ahead.
Pete Carroll. I know why you would be opposed to it.
Yep.
So now here's my plan. It's not just Pete Carroll. Obviously, it's a shorter-term thing. But you cannot dispute, you can poke holes in Gruden. You can poke holes in some of the other guys. Even Vrabel, to a certain extent, I'm like, yeah, okay, well, there's belief that he can be that guy, but he really hasn't been. He's never won a Super Bowl, and he's been good with Tannehill, sure. Good, but not great. Pete Carroll, you cannot poke holes in other than his age, and even his last year's in Seattle, both 9 and 8 seasons. There's no doubt that Pete Carroll coming in here changes everything. He's a positive guy, high energy guy, proven winner in multiple spots. Obviously, he's been here before, didn't have success with the Jets when he was here, but you get the point. And if I want Pete Carroll, and I think that I do at this point, then I would pair him with Rodgers. I think the combination of Carroll and Rodgers for next year has the best chance of fumigating the toxicity and negative vibe with the Jets, at least for a short window. I get that that's not the long-term answer, but you know what's important to me, and I think Carroll's better than Gruden in that aspect.
I got to tell you, you brought this up 2 months ago. Just kind of floated it. I'm like, no. Now I still want Vrabel.
Right.
Mike Vrabel's still number 1 for me. I don't know if I read something over the Christmas break. Something very loosely, not even connecting the Jets to Pete, but just a thought. Hey, maybe the Jets and Carroll, it could be a fit the second time around. And it struck me a little bit differently than when you first presented it. I don't know why I wasn't open to it then. I'm more open to it now. Not open enough to supersede Vrabel. But see, the problem is, I don't even think the Jets are thinking about Pete Carroll. Have you seen anything connecting
I did see one thing.
Pete Carroll to the Jets?
I did see one report. I don't know if it was from the Post or what, but his name came up again. I heard his name. It wasn't me who brought it up. I heard it being bandied about.
Yeah, but this is a while ago.
Well, yeah, exactly. This was in the beginning of it. But I wasn't the one. Somebody was telling me about it. I was like,
I got you.
Anyway, well, I was Francesca. I was talking to Mike about it. And he mentioned Pete Carroll. I was like, you know what? I didn't even think about it. That's a great idea. But this was going back a while ago, to your point. So I brought it up. But I've seen it. His name be written about. It was recently. I don't know if it was Costello. Somebody had it recently, which made me think about it again. But then I started to just dig deeper in my own mind. Okay, well, if this is what I want the Jets to be and clean up what is just a toxic, negative environment, And if I don't fully trust, as we went over the names yesterday, Gruden, who's maybe the most established, being that he won a Super Bowl, if I don't fully trust him, and with Kingsbury there's question marks, and with Flores there's question marks, and with Vrabel less question marks, but still just something in me is not sold yet. Carroll is to me, the most sure bet, and the only knock is that he's going to be 73 years old.
Well, so is Belichick. Yeah, so think about those. For those who wanted Belichick.
Which I did.
Yeah, exactly. So you're consistent with that.
The reason why I never brought up Belichick is because I never thought he would want to come here.
Yeah, I know.
Then we learned after the fact he tried to come here and they already dismissed him, so it was never a realistic option in our minds. But yes, he would have been my first choice for this team. So you're right. He would be the next Pete Carroll to me would be the next best thing.
All right, let's step back for a second. Whether it's Pete, whether it's Vrabel, whether it's so the process is underway. And I gave you the 4 things before. I want you to answer these very quickly.
Yep.
Do you think, no matter who it is, the money will be there? Top-level money from the Jets?
I do.
So do I. Check.
Woody's good with that.
Yes. Not with head coaches, he's not. But if you think about who he's hired, I think that's going to change. He knows that has to change. He's going to pay.
You're getting the feeling by all the guys he interviewed. Ron Rivera.
They're all former guys. Then no one's coming cheap. It's not a first-year guy.
Correct.
Unless it's Aaron Glenn. Okay. So we both agree the money will be there. Do you believe that he will acquiesce enough or all of the power, this is the tough one, to satisfy a real candidate like Vrabel, like Pete, like whomever?
My gut is saying yes. But again, my gut is saying yes initially. Now, that's something that could change in year 2 or year 3. Like we saw that with Dolan and Donnie Walsh. In the beginning, Donnie Walsh was running things.
For sure.
Until he wasn't. Until it got to a point where Dolan said, no.
Until the most important point. It was time to make the trade. And basically, Dolan says, no, we're doing this instead. And it ruined everything.
Screwed everything up. So
with the Carmelo stuff.
I think initially, yes. And also, we will know the answer based on the hire. Mm-hmm. Like, if it is Rabel, even Pete Carroll, like, Pete Carroll's not coming here.
Yep.
I know he wants
answer to Woody Johnson.
Yeah, he's going to say, look, you want me to fix this? I need to be able to do it this way. Like,
and you get that in the contract.
Yes.
I kind of agree with you, but it's 20 years of evidence to the contrary. But I think you're right.
At least initially, right? You get the gut feel he's open to changing.
I think I do. Even if it's out of shame, I think he's open to changing. All right, number 3. Do you think the higher level candidates believe that they can win soon? Here.
See, I do.
So do I.
But I hate to keep bringing up Rodgers, making about him.
You can't not bring up Rodgers. You have to.
So that's
a massive part of it.
So that's the point. And that's why when I look at Belichick, who would have been my number 1, don't you think Belichick looked at this job in part appealing because of Rodgers?
I think that Belichick could watch 5 minutes of Jets film on defense, and he probably did. Yeah. And he's like, okay, just one thing here, one thing there, and we're twice as good.
Right, so it is more than just the veteran quarterback in place.
It is.
There's a lot more than that. This team does have some potential and does have some talent, which is why I wanted a real veteran coach and try to run it back one more time with Rodgers, not rehabbing all offseason. I know he's going to be a year older, but better than any other veteran stopgap out there in my mind with the right head coach, Belichick or Pete Carroll. So I want Rodgers back. I want Carroll. I don't know if Vrabel and Rodgers is the best pairing. Now, it doesn't mean that Vrabel and Dimitroff can't be a great pairing, not only for next year,
or even Robinson and Vrabel, where they work together in Tennessee. All right, so this is interesting. See, what we're coming across here, right, is I think, unlike many of the other recent Jet hiring cycles, right, it is at least a lot more appealing. The money is going to be there. There's going to be a bit of a concession of power out of necessity by Woody, we both think. And they are more built to win now. And by the way, even if you don't want to keep Sauce or Garrett, there's enough assets, and pay them. Yeah. There's enough assets on the team where you could trade if you wanted to do that. And then you can, really stock, if that's appealing to a candidate, really stock the coverage with draft equity, which would, if you hit the right picks, really facilitate a deep, meaningful change. So this is encouraging on the, I don't want to say on every level, but it's encouraging the names being thrown around, the circumstances. Hey, maybe this is the time that Woody stumbles upon something interesting.
I was just thinking in my mind, like, as you were talking there almost isn't a bad hire here, but that's not totally true. Now, like, let's just say that they were like, hey, we love Cliff Kingsbury.
I think Rex would be bad.
Yeah, well,
myself.
I don't love Ron Rivera.
Me neither.
Yeah, I mean, I think that those have the potential to be flatline hires. I don't mind the risk reward, meaning in Flores or Kingsbury would be the two guys.
I'd be okay with either one. I'm with you.
There's high risk there, but there's very high reward. So I wouldn't consider them bad hires, at least short term.
I would agree.
Rex, yes. Oof. Rivera, yes. And I don't think they're going to hire a first-time guy, and if it is, it's probably going to be Aaron Glenn, you would think.
And I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, like if
Vrabel says no.
If they're going to make a first-time, and now it's not what I would do, but like that may be the worst-case scenario. All right, worst case, you start over with Aaron Glenn, who at least gives you, I don't know, a different feel, maybe some hope. Now, that would almost be like a stalemate kind of,
Well, he's a former Jet. He was great. And he's part of a nice culture with the. Not only is he winning in Detroit, he's part of a culture.
I guess my point is,
like, you know what I mean? That energetic cult, the exact opposite of here.
That's not a bad worst case, I guess, is my point. I don't think they're going to hire Rex or Ron Rivera. The more I think about it,
Rex hasn't even interviewed yet. I mean, everything about Rex is Rex. The one leading the charge from the PR perspective.
No.
Here's where I think they could hire Rex. I'll slightly disagree. If they whiff on everybody that we want, and it gets ugly and nobody wants the Jets, that's a way to throw a piece of meat to the Jet portion of the fan base that would be energized by Rex 2.0. Your partner wouldn't be one of them.
Right, I know.
But Beningo would be, and some other Jet fans would be. I don't want no part of Rex. I think Rex is a bad coach.
Here's why, and we'll get to the calls here, 888-808-1019. Here's why I don't think they're going to hire Rex, because it's not about Woody. You could see clearly that this firm that Woody and the Jets hired to do the search here.
Yeah, with Tannenbaum.
Yeah. You could see that it's clear that it's not Woody, because all these guys that they're bringing in are the guys that we think are, forget about Rivera, but like the experience that they need to turn an organization around.
Counter to what Woody usually does.
Bingo. And no Rex yet, at least.
Yep.
All right, BT and Sal on the Fan, our friends at Town Fair Tire. Remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. We're talking Jets head coach search with Rabel in the building today. Bobby is in Belmore. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, Bob.
Hey, guys, listen, they could have gotten Ben Johnson. I'm going to tell you what, had a shot. If this was a normal organization with a 41-year-old quarterback coming from an Achilles injury, Bo Nix was out there coming from a pro offense to be drafted. And Ben Johnson could have molded this guy. They could have been a great selling to. But, of course, they had to appease that for Rodgers, who scored 4,000.
Bobby, I'm sorry. I got to stop you right there.
Thank God, because I was just about to.
You can't, and thank you for the call. You can't draft a quarterback based on a head coach who you might have next. Like, think about what he's saying there, BT. I mean, that is so ridiculous,
he's
Bobby.
living in the past, which I have no interest in doing anymore. Trust me, the past is sheer hell from a Jets perspective. We're moving forward.
But imagine the Jets last year. You're right. We got to move forward now. The season's over. But imagine the Jets drafting Bo Nix this past draft with the idea of everything.
Maybe we'll get Ben?
Yeah, I mean, come on. That is so idiotic. And by the way, that's not a great selling point. Ben Johnson is going to have better options where he could go to the team with the number 1 pick potentially and draft his guy, or go to a spot where they could get their guy as opposed to a guy who was already drafted a year ago. You want to say the Giants should have taken Bo Nix or Michael Penix, whatever, that's a different story. To say the Jets should have done it where they were last year is foolish.
Well, first of all, the Jets thought they were going to win this year, so why would they do anything that would be built on next year? Listen, we appreciate the call. That is not the way to start the Jets head coach conversation, please.
Now, will you say on Ben Johnson, would you say that he would be somebody you'd at least be intrigued in? The reason why I haven't brought him up for the Jets.
Not nearly as much as others. I don't think he has any interest in the Jets, and I don't know what he is, man. I don't know. Well, I know that the gentleman that I know that Mike Vrabel is an above average head coach. I know that Gruden's done it. I'm not going down the coordinator route again without a quarterback.
Well,
I'm not doing that.
The only reason why I even bring it up is because of where the Jets are at now. They're at the 7th pick, and let's just say the Giants beat the Eagles, whatever. Is there a way the Jets can maybe get even higher in the draft?
There's a way they could.
And then potentially they can strike a move to get a top quarterback. And now all of a sudden it's not just the Jets' job. There's some talent in place. You could start fresh if you trade up for one of those top quarterbacks, and now that becomes appealing maybe to a guy like Ben Johnson, William Cohen from Tampa Bay, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not saying that some don't think that way. That That is nothing that's on my radar right now. I
Yeah.
honestly don't think that Ben Johnson has any interest in the Jets. Why would he?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I know you just outlined a possible reason why, but no, I don't think that's
also,
happening.
I don't think it's what this Jets team needs right now.
No, they need a grown.
Yeah.
No, he's not a grown man. They need a proven. I know this is good, redundant.
Yep.
A proven leader of the entire room, not just one side of the football.
Eric is calling from Rivervale, New Jersey. What's up, Eric?
BT, Sal, how are we doing, guys?
How are you, Eric?
Hey, man, what's going on?
Oh, man, Sal, I mean, I was in the car and I heard you bring up Pete Carroll, and I nearly drove off the road. I had to call.
Go
I
ahead.
mean, 73 years old. When was the last time? When did he coach the Jets? Was it 94, 95?
94 with Boomer. Yeah.
Right. 30 years ago.
So what? He
Like,
coached
I mean,
Seattle
come on.
a couple of years ago.
Hey, he won a Super Bowl.
Well, I understand.
Okay.
I understand. I understand, the idea of having an adult in the room, but to me, you got Vrabel in the room right now. You got him in the building. I was listening to Boomer this morning. I completely agree with Boomer. You don't let him out of the building.
Well, he's going to get out of the
Whatever
building.
it takes.
He's going to. Now, listen, by the way, Eric, I agree. And in terms of Rabel, I've been talking about Rabel before Boomer. All right? So I love him. But he's going to get out of the building, even though that sounds cute. Don't let him leave.
Yeah.
He's going to leave because he's using the. Now, he might be interested in the Jets, but he's also trying to, in my opinion, incentivize Kraft to fire Mayo because I think that that's the job that he really wants. He's a Patriot.
There's so many moving parts here, like musical chairs. What happens if Mike McCarthy, there were some rumors about McCarthy now maybe leaving. Like, we've all thought it was going to be Jerry firing McCarthy.
Yeah.
Now it might be McCarthy saying, hey, you know what? There might be better options like Chicago available.
Yeah, I saw that.
So then what if Dallas is available? Would Vrabel prefer to go to Dallas or New England over the Jets? Like,
I don't know.
If you're Vrabel, you're leaving the building because you don't know all the options yet. You're not going to make a choice. Like, Woody could say whatever you want, this and that, but he could also say that's great, but what you could give me might not be as good as what New England or Dallas or whatever or Chicago. Who the hell knows?
Well, I mean, listen, the easy thing to do is to sit here and look at and look at rosters and diagnose.
Yeah.
Well, that they're a year or two away, or they've got good ownership, they don't have good ownership. Whatever. What we don't know is what's in their heart. Like, he won Super Bowls there, Mike Vrabel. For the most part, he has viewed the Jets as a complete joke. Now, that doesn't mean, from a competitor's point of view, that doesn't mean that he doesn't think that he can't fix them. But, we could do hours upon hours. You just don't know what somebody's thinking. That's why I preface everything with I don't know for sure. I really think this is a leverage play by Vrabel. I think that he is really eyeing the Patriots.
Yeah, he might be. Now, they got to make a decision. It's going to be a tough decision to fire Mayo after 1 year.
I know, very un-Patriots-like.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they could do that. That would be a bad. I mean, look, they could do whatever they want, but that would be a bad look for that organization. Just back to Carroll for a second. We'll take a break and then come back to your calls. As I said, the only thing you could poke holes in is his age. Everything else, he's exactly what I believe they need. An energy changer, a building. He's going to make that building so much brighter and better. He's a program builder. Look what he did with the Seahawks forever. Even in his worst years at age 71 and 72, he turned Geno Smith into a starting quarterback and won 9 games apiece. He went out 9-8, 9-8. Like, oh, it's time for a change in Seattle. Okay, maybe, but at 9-8, Jets would kill for 9-8. Pete Carroll would be the. That's where I want Pete. I'd be open to Rabel, open to Gruden and others. For me, my gut is telling me the most sure bet in what I want to happen, Carroll Rodgers 2025.
It sounded very, very odd 6-7 weeks ago. Not as odd today, but you know who I want. I want Vrabel.
BT and Sal on the Fan. More your calls when we come back. 888-808-1019.